Well, one of the most common questions we get in regards to electric cars at Drive is, what happens if I get into an accident? We've heard horror stories about how electric cars are harder to repair, more expensive to insure, they take longer to get parts, and they're more likely to be written off. But is this actually true? Well, to find out, we've come here to Luxury Auto Body in Melbourne. They're a Tesla-approved repairer, and I'm going to ask them the hard questions about cost, wait times, complications, and everything you need to know about electric car smash repairs. Let's get into it. All right, I'm here at Luxury Auto Body in Clifton Hill with Danny. Danny is a panel beater with 3 decades of experience, so he knows what he's talking about. And now I'm going to ask him some fairly nitty-gritty questions about fixing EVs and Teslas. Let's get into it.
Sure.
Danny, you guys are a Tesla-approved repairer. How many Tesla cars are you getting through here on average per month?
About 25 a month.
25, yeah. And is that kind of what you anticipated, or is it more than you guys thought?
I didn't realise. We underestimated the amount of volume of Teslas that are out there.
Yeah.
It got us by surprise.
Yeah. And what kind of issues are you seeing? Obviously, they're all coming in typically from accidents. What kinds of impacts and accidents are you seeing come through?
Oh, all sorts. Front collisions with airbags deployed, a lot of side swipes. Just nothing changes from what we know. They still smash left, right, and centre.
Yeah, because I think there's a bit of a maybe common misconception with electric cars that these fancy spaceships that are completely different to the conventional cars we know and love. Yeah. But really, in an accident, do they function pretty much the same?
They do. Yeah, exactly the same. Yeah, airbags deploy when they need to deploy.
They crumple where they need to crumple.
Crumple when they need to. The fundamentals are the same. All the inner reinforcements will do their job.
Yeah. Say you're comparing a Tesla Model 3 to a Toyota Camry. Mm-hmm. Is it categorically harder to repair a Tesla Model 3 than a Toyota Camry?
Depending where the damage is. So if we talk about a rear impact, it's definitely more involving. Teslas, depending on the model, they're glued and riveted on when you're replacing a quarter panel, for example. They are more involving, so they'll be on par with maybe repairing a BMW or a Mercedes.
Just a little bit more complex, but not completely impossible.
So, if we're talking about the front, they're pretty basic on the front, but the back is definitely more involving.
We hear a lot about the high voltage batteries in electric cars. People are worried they catch fire, they lose capacity. Have you experienced anything like that before, or is it pretty kind of much ado about nothing? Touch wood?
We have not, no, touch wood, but no, we haven't had any experience like that. And even some of the cars, the way they come in, you'll see a couple examples outside where they've had major collisions. There's been no risk of the batteries going up.
And have you had to write off anything in recent memory? And if so, why? Any particular reason?
We have written off a couple. It all comes down to cost. Mm-hmm. The cost of repair against the value of the car and what the car fetches as a wreck as well. So, the insurance company will take all that into consideration and make a decision on how they settle the claim.
And in terms of the actual process of repairing, I mean, obviously you guys know what you're doing, but they're still fairly new cars. What do you refer to? Do you just call Tesla up and go, oh, this is what's happened? Or do they make that information readily available?
A certified repairer would have access to their electronic parts catalogue. You are the parts interpreter, so you got all access to all the breakdowns of all the parts. You select them. There's no interaction in that respect, so you get to do it all. The availability of parts, the strike rate's really good. There's only been a couple of occasions so far where we've had to wait for parts. In one case, I think we waited like 6 weeks, but that's...
Oh, that's not too bad.
Considering the amount of Teslas we've done so far, that's pretty good.
If you had to put an average figure on like an average smash repair cost for the Teslas that you've had in over the last 6 months, where does that sit? Like what are people up for, more or less?
With the exclusion of outliers, so when I talk about outlier, I'm talking about major, accidents. If you have to take, all your drivable stuff, you have to do an average maybe about 4,500, 5,000.
Which is probably fairly standard for a smash repair of any car. Is that fair to say?
Look, some of the parts on Teslas are unbelievably cheap. Like it's just, all your drivable cars that come in that might require a bumper bar, those parts are generally really cheap. So your drivable stuff, the cost of claims is going to be lower, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when we talk about airbags or suspension and things like that, even then they're still considerably cheaper than what you would see if you were repairing, I don't know, a BMW or a Mercedes or something like that. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And to summarise, I suppose, someone's looking at buying a Tesla, they're a bit nervous, they're a bit apprehensive, it's an electric car, they've never driven an electric car before. Is there anything that, you've seen the kind of the good, the bad, the ugly here. Yeah. Is there anything you would tell them or sort of flag with them ahead of buying a Tesla?
All around, I don't see any issues with them. Obviously, it's cleaner and all that. I think it's the direction that we need to go. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. I think we should embrace it. The biggest setback I see at the moment is just high density living. People just don't have the means to be able to charge them. I reckon that'll be holding back sales. Personally, that's what's stopping me, I guess. So yeah, they're good zippy cars. They're economical. It's cleaner for the environment. The more that you see them on the road, the more it highlights what we've just taken for granted. I mean, you see like a utility, a diesel, and it takes off a puff of smoke. But I think for years we've just taken that for granted. Now you really start to look and you think, things have got to change.
Okay, well, why just talk about it when we can see it in real life? That's why we've come here. And Danny, we're looking at a Model 3 here that recently came in. In terms of collision, side impact, rear impact, this is pretty bad, hey?
It is. Yeah, it's a significant amount of damage. So much so that the airbags are deployed.
Yeah.
And you'll note that all the batteries are located on the floor pan in that area.
Right.
So that there was no concern there with batteries exploding or anything like that. So yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of. You have an accident and it's just the same as it would be if you were in a normal combustion engine car.
Yeah, and obviously circumstances change. You want to figure out once you get it in there kind of what's involved. But if you had to look at this and give a rough estimate of cost for the customer, what are we looking at for something like this?
Look, something like this would be anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 worth of damage. You might see that might be higher if it was a BMW or a Mercedes or a Porsche. A hit like this would probably be maybe 50, 60,
Wow.
Yeah, just like I said, the parts are a lot more affordable with the Teslas.
Yep.
Yeah.
So obviously in the event of an accident, the high voltage battery isolates itself for safety reasons and shuts off some key functions. As you mentioned before, the 12-volt battery will carry on probably.
They're two separate systems. Yeah, but well, with the Model Y, they've actually got a first responders wiring harness that they cut just for safety reasons.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah. But they go into like a shutdown mode in the event of an accident of this scale.
Okay, another impact that looks pretty bad. In terms of timelines and costs, what's this owner looking at?
This one at the moment, it's an estimate around about $25,000. But that's, including got both airbags deployed. It's going to need a new dash because of the passenger airbags deployed. Mm-hmm. Front impacts are generally easier with Teslas. A lot of the stuff is just bolt on, bolt off.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, it's just when you're repairing the back, that's where it requires more expertise and skill.
And then in terms of obviously most modern cars now have a lot of sensors in the windshield and on the dash as well. Does that complicate matters? Is Tesla particularly difficult compared to other manufacturers because they have so many cameras, sensors, high-tech things?
No, not at all. A lot of that can be done and calibrated in-house through the car. I mean, you'll notice on this one, this has got like a radar in the actual windscreen as well. We'll put a new windscreen and we'll be able to calibrate it, go for a drive, and the car learns all its parameters. That can be all done in-house.
Is there anything you can see on this car that kind of speaks to that more, mass market build quality than it is a premium car?
The build quality is in line with the mass-produced car, but in saying that, not that that's a bad thing, by the way.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to say, you got a lot of mass-produced cars that are successful.
It's, they're generally a good all-rounder for everyday use.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. It turns out electric cars aren't that different to conventional cars when it comes to smash repairs. Of course, we'd recommend you do your research. Pick an insurer and insurance policy that works for you, and make sure you always work with a certified electric vehicle repairer. And, as always, drive safe. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.